Hello, everyone. Good morning. I hope you're doing well this morning, and I hope that you are ready to start the day. And if you're not, that is totally fine. Maybe this podcast is gonna help you to wake up and start the day. Or if you're listening to this in any other part of the day, I hope that this helps you relax and have some time to take off anything that disturbs you or bothers you, just to let it go. So yeah. Today we're going to be learning about hummingbirds. I feel like they're fascinating creatures. They have a lot of incredible and fascinating facts about themselves, and I'm very excited to learn with you. But before we do that, we're going to take about 30 seconds to breathe in and breathe out. So if you're ready, breathe in. Hold for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, and breathe out. Breathe in. Hold for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, and breathe out. Last time, breathe in. Hold for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, and breathe out. Great job. So, moving on to the first fact here. Hummingbirds are the smallest warm-blooded animals on Earth. They're tiny, dwarf-like creatures that amaze scientists with their incredible abilities. If you are familiar with the animal kingdom, you will know that mammals and birds are warm-blooded compared to amphibians like frogs and fishes, which are cold-blooded. I believe it has something to do with their blood circulation or body temperature, perhaps. But you can go deep into that after this podcast. So moving on, they are the smallest migrating birds, traveling alone for up to 500 miles at a time. They do this to avoid cold temperatures, and they do this in search of food. It is just amazing to see how these birds travel for sometimes 3,000 to 4,000 miles across the country, or sometimes across the seas and oceans. It's just fascinating to see these tiny creatures perform these huge feats. So yeah, they are the smallest migrating birds. And for example, we're going to be looking at the ruby-throated hummingbird, which comes from the North American continent to Mexico during winter. Sometimes it goes to South America as well. So it's more warmer compared to North America. So that's the ruby-throated hummingbird. Other hummingbirds kind of just remain in the United States, and sometimes they remain along the Atlantic and Gulf coasts. And some travel from Canada to Texas, particularly Rockport, where for some reason all these hummingbirds kind of come there to kind of prepare themselves to cross the vast sea as they continue to move south. So people in Texas, the neighborhood in Rockport, kind of helps these hummingbirds by putting out feeders and filling them up with nectar so hummingbirds can kind of gain some energy before their long flight. Finally, looking at the rufous hummingbird, it has one of the longest migrating journeys, traveling from Alaska to Canada and Mexico, covering a distance of up to 4,000 miles. Wow, that is long. Moving on to the next fact, they are the only birds that can fly backwards in midair, and the way they beat their wings is different from other birds, allowing them to kind of hover in midair. Hummingbirds kind of create this figure 8 pattern when they flap their wings. When you compare it to other birds, they bend their wings every time. So hummingbirds don't do that. This saves them a lot of movement and helps them kind of flap their wings very fast. The name hummingbird, in fact, comes from the humming noise they make as they beat their wings so fast. They have the fastest wing beating speed in the animal kingdom, with frequencies ranging from 12 to 200 beats per second. Wow. Just imagine flapping your wings if you had wings. Probably not, but if you ever did have them, just imagine flapping them 200 times per second. So, yeah, they are just fascinating. There are going to be more facts that are going to leave you just in awe of these tiny creatures. The smallest species of the hummingbird is the Calliope hummingbird that can beat its wings up to 80 times per second, while larger species like the giant hummingbird flap their wings more slowly, but they weigh about 20 grams, which is 10 times larger than the bee hummingbird, which is about 1.6 to 2 grams. Wow, that is tiny. The average weight of a hummingbird is, in fact, less than a nickel. It's less than a coin. So you can imagine how light and just how tiny these creatures are. If you've ever seen a hummingbird, you might have noticed how their size is just so similar to an insect, actually. So, despite their tiny size, hummingbirds have the highest metabolic rate than any other creatures, so they need a lot of nectar. In fact, they must consume nectar every 15 to 20 minutes, so that's a lot of feeding to do in a day. They consume about more than their body weight every day. So you can realize how much work they have to do for that, to go find the perfect flower. And it is said that hummingbirds can remember what flowers that they visited, even if it's like a very kind of crowded flower tree. They can still remember what flowers they visited. That is just amazing to kind of know. So some of the flowers that they visit are the coral honeysuckle, salvia, trumpet vine, bee balm, fuchsia, pensamon, agastache, and lantana. These flowers are brightly colored, tubular shaped, and rich in nectar. Going on to some history, the first flowering plants depended on insects for pollination, but as the mornings of South America became cold and damp, the insects and butterflies became lethargic. So they became unreliable messengers. So then came the hummingbirds as the new pair of trusted wings, helping flowers carry the beauty across the forest. So that's how hummingbirds kind of evolved to suit the needs of flowers because insects were becoming lazy in the mornings. Another thing to note is hummingbirds didn't come into existence until 42 million years ago. They split from their closest relatives, the swifts, in Eurasia. It's unclear how they ended up in South America as now, as most species currently are found in the New World, especially in Colombia and Ecuador. The first hummingbirds ate spiders and insects, but started visiting flowers. They developed long tongues and thin beaks to reach inside the flowers. Their legs became very small to lower their weight, and they became more agile than the ancestral hummingbirds. They are able to fly even through extreme weather conditions in order to get their much needed nectar, even though every drop of rain tries to shake them. So you can see how kind of resilient and enduring these creatures are. They do everything to reach their flowers and to just kind of keep themselves energetic. As for their species, there are 375 species of hummingbirds. They belong to the Trochilidae family, and their nests, as we learn about their nests, we see that the female hummingbirds are often the hummingbirds that are solely responsible for building the nests and incubating their eggs. Hummingbirds construct small cup-shaped nests with materials such as moss, lichens, and plant fibers that they attach to branches or other structures. They are usually quite soft to suit the growing nestlings, so the females kind of take extra care to make their nests kind of soft, so their babies or nestlings is the term here. So their nestlings kind of grow up in a very comfortable environment. In fact, one researcher observed a hummingbird building 6 nests in 1 calendar year. Wow, that is a lot of nests there. Typically, females lay 2 eggs each time. These eggs are small, elliptical, and about the size of a jelly bean, so you can imagine how tiny and fragile they would be. These mothers, they do their best to protect their nestlings, and their eggs. So they incubate it for about 14 to 23 days, and after hatching, the fledglings remain in the nests for about 18 to 22 days before fledging or developing their wings. Yeah, so that's about 2 to 3 weeks to kind of a month there. The mother feeds her tiny babies every 15 to 20 minutes because they're growing and they need a lot of energy. So she does this while also sustaining herself. So that's a lot of work, mother. So yeah, that is just amazing to see how dedicated this hummingbird is. It is a very hard job, so we just have to kind of appreciate how it's working so hard for its babies or fledglings. It usually gives a mixture of nectar and small insects to its fledglings or nestlings. So typically that's what its food comprises of. The mother also keeps the nestlings warm as they cannot regulate their own body temperature yet. Once the nestlings fledge, they can fly and forage on their own, but the mother still continues to feed them for an additional 25 days. So yeah, that's another thing that we have to appreciate. Even after the babies kind of fly and try to find their own nectar, the mother still kind of helps them and doesn't just abandon them just like that. So good. Moving on to mating or courtship here. It's fascinating, just truly just amazing to see how the mating dance takes place. It's a complex and visually striking behavior performed by male hummingbirds to kind of attract females. So each hummingbird during mating season, they kind of gather in groups called a lek. These are all males, by the way, male hummingbirds. So they gather in a group and they engage in elaborate courtship rituals. This is just absolutely fascinating to watch, as these rituals often include a series of chirps, aerial acrobatics, and displays of iridescent plumage. The long-billed hermit hummingbird male begins a courtship ritual that starts with a series of chirps, and soon other males join in, creating a chorus that fills the forest. Wow, I can imagine just walking into a forest and hearing all these hummingbirds kind of sing in a chorus, which is just so hard to believe, but I am sure that scientists have researched that and kind of witnessed that, and wow, lucky them. Yeah. So other male hummingbirds perform aerial displays, such as diving down toward a perched female and then climbing back up for a subsequent dive in the opposite direction. Wow, hummingbirds are divers as well. Aerial displays is like kind of things that they do or tricks that they do in the air. So one of them is diving. Some hummingbirds also flap their wings rapidly while producing a distinctive buzzing sound, and this takes a lot of their energy. So this kind of shows off their endurance or kind of ability to impress the females. So yeah, they have a lot of other types of kind of mating dances that they do. And each one is so unique. So you should definitely check out the documentary. Once the female is impressed, she will signal her acceptance, and the mating act, which lasts for only about 3 to 5 seconds, will occur. Then both hummingbirds will part their ways, and the female starts to build her nest while the male goes on to find another mate. Hummingbirds, as you can see, do not form long-term bonds. It's usually just the female raising its fledglings. So a lot of appreciation for the hummingbird mothers there. Finally, we have the hummingbird's nightlife. I often wonder what birds do at night because you don't really hear a lot of bird sound at night, especially during the winters. It's usually very quiet. I usually wonder what they do, but now we can see that every hummingbird's greatest challenge is to stay alive during the night so that they wake up to see another day. The part of why it's very challenging at night is because hummingbirds kind of enter this torpor state where their metabolic rates slow down along with their breathing and heart rates. So they're in this kind of still state, and they don't move a lot, and this kind of opens them up to predators. So it's very kind of a vulnerable time for hummingbirds. Hummingbirds are diurnal, meaning that they feed during the day and rest at night. And some hummingbirds sleep upside down. I've never really seen hummingbirds kind of sleep upside down, which is, I feel like it's another kind of fascinating thing about them. It's just, in some areas, though, hummingbirds have been seen foraging at night due to artificial lighting. This is usually in urban areas where there's a lot of lights at night and hummingbirds can't really sleep, or they think that it's daytime and they kind of go to flowers and, drink their nectar and, as usual, just feed. And during migration, as was mentioned before, hummingbirds fly at night, and when they cannot land, for example, when crossing at sea, they can't really land anywhere. They just fly at night and they don't sleep. Hopefully they make up for that lost rest later, after they probably reach their destination or in like a rest spot. Hopefully they kind of sleep more. So that was the last fact for you guys. Much of the lives of hummingbirds is unknown, mostly shrouded in mystery, but what we do know is that they are remarkable creatures, aerial acrobats, high endurance athletes, and tiny messengers of flowers. These are truly incredible creatures, and if you have some time to spare, just go on and kind of research a little bit about them. They are truly just amazing tiny messengers. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. As you know, this is my first time making a podcast, so if there are any imperfections, I will try to improve on the next upcoming episodes. So stay tuned. I will leave you here if you're still awake. Please leave a review or message me in Instagram. It's early_bird_weekly_podcast in Instagram. Or you can leave a review for this podcast. That would be so helpful. Thank you very much, and see you in the next episode. Goodbye.